Welcome to The Way Home with Laura Smith, the show that brings you wonderful guests, helpful advice, and uplifting stories. The Way Home. Live inspired. Here's your host, Laura Smith.
Well, my guest today is someone who has had so many iterations in radio and music in that industry, but all of a sudden he finds himself being an expert on cryptocurrency. And he has a radio show to prove it. Crypto Fitz. That's his name, Jimmy Fitz. And it's called Crypto Fitz. And it's a wonderful block of really interesting information on a topic that normally I would find just almost impossible to decipher and understand. Jimmy to the rescue. He has a fabulous new show, and it really takes you through with baby steps in a clear, he's got a beautiful golden voice, and he tells you all about what it means, what it's going to mean in the world, how you can get in on it, but really all straight ahead information that will help you understand what could be the new way of the world financially in many, many ways. So Jimmy Fitz comes up, and we will have good news stories, of course, too. On the way home, I'm Laura Smith.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Way Home with Laura Smith. Here's Laura.
Well, I thought I'd been in radio a long time, but you know what? There's people who've been doing it a lot longer than me. I'm coming up on 29 years shortly and 5 years for this particular show. But there are so many interesting people in the business that have literally so many iterations of different jobs in radio and music and talk shows and the like. And I have met someone that has really, truly been doing it, well, longer than I have, a success in every way, but has just started a brand new show called Crypto Fitz. And he is currently one of the experts in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all that, those digital assets. And he comes out of a musical past, though. So welcome to the show, Jimmy Fitz.
Thank you so much, Laura. Great to be with you. Great to see you.
Well, you too. And thank goodness for Zoom. But we just get to use the audio for our radio show. But I was happy to be introduced to you. You are somebody that has literally had 9 lives in the industry, in radio, and in so many different genres. It makes your head spin. Tell us just a real sort of a shortened version of your past life, and then we'll get into your latest show that you're syndicating.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I've been very, very blessed, Laura, in my career path. I was mentored by an amazing teacher. I was working I had a newspaper route for the afternoon paper in Washington, D.C. I had about 40 14-year-olds who worked under me who had a newspaper route. And I would deliver the papers to them, and they would go deliver them, and they'd collect the money, and then they'd pay for the papers that they were supposed to do. Long story short, that was my gig at the time. I was 19 years old, and I saw an ad for a broadcasting school in Washington, D.C., National Academy of Broadcasting. I started there. My teacher ended up helping me get my first gig in country. My first station I ever worked for was a progressive rock station. I worked country. I was there for many years. I worked at AOR, DC 101 there under a different name. Moved to New York, started doing syndicated radio programming up there. When I was in D.C., I had a TV show called On Stage, Backstage that focused on country music. D.C. was a big country town back then. I've worked in jazz. I was at Sony's SW Networks. I've been syndicated by Westwood One, Unistar. Been very blessed and fortunate to work in rock, jazz, country, R&B, and I'm very blessed to be a musician. And all those experiences that has brought me in my entire life. I've met some incredible people. I've been inspired by so many creative spirits. And in my career, Laura, I've never really picked what I wanted to do. It just seemed that I was led by the man upstairs and always looked for that guidance. I left home at 17 with a quarter in my pocket. He's always watched over me. And I was blessed to have landed into this creative space. It totally enveloped me. It picked me. I didn't pick it. It just totally sucked me in and gave me so much as a young man, 19, 20, finding his way in the world. I went to college a while. It wasn't my gig to do the whole 4-year deal. I was too antsy to get out in the world, and I had too much to do and say. I started a teenage rock band. My brother and I were musicians. My parents encouraged it. So I come from a creative family and have always been encouraged to be free. The big thing when I first got on the air on the country station in Alexandria, Virginia, WPIK, which is in the DC suburbs there. We were DC's country station, 7:30 a.m. and WXRA simulcast, which was interesting back in the 70s. FM was still fighting its footing, if you recall, right?
Yes.
One thing led to the other. I was a newsman. I worked for Mutual News cutting tape. And I've also, been in the non-broadcast world and have done so many gigs, worn so many hats out there, making a living, hustling. It's always hustle. The hustle has always been a good phrase, not a negative phrase to me. A good hustle with good intent has major power to spread great vibes and to do good and to be able to have the power of what you and I are doing right now. Like you said, Zoom, look at all the different locations that we get to do collective conversations like this,
Right.
So,
well, you certainly were given the golden pipes for it. So that could be one reason that the career chose you and the man upstairs. You definitely have wonderful pipes for that. So with that huge background in music, and I know you're also a musician, as you said, and you've had some videos on MTV and things like that, but now you've come into this new space, and tell us how that got started, because obviously music and then a talk subject as what is going to end up being cutting edge in terms of digital assets and money and what that's going to mean for our life. That could be, that's a huge swing for one thing, but second of all, I just think it right now is a great time for it because it's starting to come back up in the news again. I don't know what happened. It was huge, and then people were balking about it. And now all of a sudden it seems to be back in the news, and with Donald Trump even visiting the crypto expo, wasn't it?
The Bitcoin conference, right?
Yeah, in Nashville very recently, just a few weeks ago.
Right.
And so now it's all of a sudden it seems like it's coming back into the everyone's minds, and they're wondering about it. So are you an expert on cryptocurrency? Is it something that you've been dabbling in for a while and have become entrenched in it, or how is it for you? You just find it interesting?
I'll share my journey with you, Laura. Back in the teens, 2013, 14, 15, 16, in that area, was a great time for me from many different aspects creatively. I had a lot of projects going on. It was a very creative time. Things were great. And a friend of mine who was in the investment business, a broker, said, you should check out Bitcoin. And he explained it to me. He told me how you try to acquire it. And I said, okay, cool. Thank you so much. And I went on. I was so busy. I didn't have time to look into it. And I didn't give it a second thought. Then few years rolled by, like 2017, he brings it up again. That's when I started looking at what Bitcoin was and how important it is and how it is a digital property, digital capital, how it's something that's going to be an amazing thing and already is for banking a lot of unbanked people around the world who don't have access to the financial institutions and services that about a billion people have access to regular financial services, and about 6, 7 don't. And 5 billion people do have a cell phone in their pocket. So this is, without getting too deep in the weeds, Bitcoin peer-to-peer, borderless, immutable. It's a blockchain. It's a digital ledger. Many call it digital gold. It's called hard money. It's a hedge against inflation, a hedge against the devaluation and the money printing of fiat currency, which always has happened in many civilizations for many years before us. It has a capped supply of 21 million. It is, you can't make any more. There's no corporation. There's no president of Bitcoin. It's a decentralized computer protocol run by thousands of computers all over the world. So once I started studying this and I read the white paper, which was the inventor Satoshi Nakamoto's vision and explanation of where we're at financially with the money printing and our debt. And, we've been hearing about this forever. Being a New Yorker, we used to walk up 6th Avenue around 42nd Street, and there was a big billboard, an electronic billboard there, counting off the debt. And this is going back decades, okay? And we'd walk by it. We'd all go to work. We wouldn't talk about it. We wouldn't point at it. We wouldn't remark about it. The numbers, it was just fascinating to see those digits going by every second, right? Well, here we are in the $36 trillion neighborhood, and this is what everyone's talking about. I was never taught any financial education in school, and 99% of us were not growing up. Many were only taught, if you were taught to save money and get a passbook account and have a banking relationship and try to have a clean slate, that's about as far as they dug into it. No one taught anyone about the dangers of debt and how to look at money. So part of understanding the space in Bitcoin, I had to start studying money and what money was. What is money? What's the history of money? Today we have paper. The government prints it at will. What is our fiat currency? It's backed by the goodwill of in faith of our government. We're investing in the government's ability to repay that money. Okay, so Satoshi Nakamoto, when the 08-09 time period came in and that crisis happened and the housing crash and all that good stuff and everything that everyone was dealing with that recession during that time, he saw what was happening with the money printing starting there, with the bailout of bailout of the banks, bailout of the General Motors, big corporations getting bailed out, and the money printer and the government bailing everyone out. So now we're at this point in time with the computer and the digital age, and this is like it's the internet all over again, new version. Web 3.0, a natural evolution of technology. It's been evolving and growing and improving every second since it was invented. And there's so much going on behind the scenes and has reached such a power. And now it's all about adoption. It's been proven. Wall Street's adopted it. Now it's become actually embraced by both sides of the political aisle, all the way up the ladder. Mark Cuban held a round table with Democrat Majority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer, with other Democrats on a webinar talking about how they want to support this future. They know the importance of Bitcoin. They know the importance of it to our nation, the nation's security. And he was claiming their allegiance to and acknowledging the crypto community. Now, there are 65 million crypto holders in the country, in this country, in the U.S., okay? 65 million people own crypto. Now, that's 65 million people who own the crypto. That doesn't include their spouses, their kids, their nieces, nephews, uncles, aunts, grandparents. And then you step back, that their friends, the whole community. That's a huge voting block. And now it's become a voting issue. It's a major issue front and center because it's a huge lobbying block, and there's been a lot of money from big companies in this space. One of the leaders, Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, a lot of lobbying. Whoops. So it's amazing how it's become, front page news, not only within the crypto community, but mainstream media, the business shows, et cetera, covering it big time. And then, when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Was the first one really to take political donations in crypto, then President Trump followed up on the heels of that. A lot of people don't realize that former President Trump has been in the blockchain space and has benefited from it and invested in it for several years. His wife, Melania, the First Lady, minted NFTs through Solana a while back. President Trump has actually, his public record has made millions of dollars from his NFT collection. And so that got a lot of attention. And this Bitcoin,
and NFTs, for people who may not know, what are they? Right. Non-fungible
tokens.
Oh, tokens, right.
And NFTs proves digital scarcity, digital ownership of, token. That's a form of tokenization. And an NFT can even be your driver's license. I mean, without getting too deep into it, Laura. State of California just transferred 42 million DMV records onto a blockchain, and us California residents are going to have a DMV digital wallet to where we don't have to go to the DMV, don't have to deal with them through the mail, and you don't have to renew your title, all the paperwork that you have to do. You do it through this digital wallet with them. So everything's going digital. It's a fascinating evolution. But
and can you tell me, sorry, I was going to ask you, so you talked about Mark Cuban getting together with Chuck Schumer. Mm-hmm. How about Elon Musk? And he seems to be embracing more and more conservative ideals.
Sure.
Is he in on the crypto craze?
Oh, Elon Musk was one of the first to join the crypto movement. Tesla owns a lot of Bitcoin, and they hold that on their balance sheets, which is a whole different conversation. But that's been a big lobbying effort by MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, who put MicroStrategy on the Bitcoin standard a few years ago. It has a whole education course about Bitcoin for corporations. So all the billionaires are getting it. Elon Musk was very early on it, acknowledged it. As a matter of fact, during the last Bitcoin bull run, at first Musk announced that Tesla will start taking Bitcoin for payment for Teslas. And shortly after that, he rescinded on that and said that when Bitcoin can prove that it has over 50% energy efficiency, then they will reinstate that. He's never sold his Bitcoin. He holds a lot of Bitcoin, worth a lot of money. So he's put his money where his mouth is. All the billionaires are out there. Peter Thiel, who founded PayPal, big Bitcoin proponent. Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, a very outspoken Democrat through the years and a big voice on Wall Street, at first, years ago, was very skeptical of Bitcoin. And like anyone, naturally, people get a little intimidated or skeptical about anything that they don't know about. Once he dug into it, did his research, met the leaders in the space, understood what the concept of this worldwide computer protocol, decentralized, how important it is to be able to transfer money peer-to-peer, cross-border, permissionless, no third party, no friction, no middleman fees, instantaneously. It's an evolution. It's a technological evolution. We've been on digital money with our credit cards. Who carries cash anymore? For tips. That's really how people seem to use cash. Many people like their plastic. They like to get the points, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, some people use that, overuse it, and don't use it the right way. But that's
Jimmy, it's so fascinating. So would you say, we have just 4 minutes left, would you say that crypto's here to stay and that eventually it's going to be ubiquitous and we're all going to be in on it? Do you think it's going to eventually take over our system that we have right now? Or are we always going to have options?
I think that we will have options. I think the consensus is that the U.S. dollar is going to continue, as past civilizations have, to inflate the dollar to be able to keep the house of cards from falling and to be able to deal with the overwhelming debt. That's the big question. The numbers don't lie. So that's how I see it evolving. And there's a big difference, Laura. People join Bitcoin and crypto together. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a commodity. It's been deemed that by the Commodity Futures Trading Act. It's not a security. It's a store of value. Many call it a hedge against inflation. Digital gold. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy calls it digital capital and digital property. And he makes a whole case for Bitcoin and real estate, which is a very interesting corner to go into.
Oh my gosh, which was probably just another reason why people need to find your podcast and your radio show. It's starting to grow across the country. And there's no doubt you have an amazing way of, keeping it on a level where you talk slowly enough about it, people can kind of pick up on what you're saying. Because for some people, this really is a foreign language.
Oh, it is. It's 6 languages, Laura.
Exactly. But for other people, they have great curiosity about it, maybe want to start getting into it. And you provide this wonderful vehicle now, your Crypto Fitz show, and people can now hear you on a weekly basis. Is there a website where people can find you?
My website is cryptofitz.io, like a .com, cryptofitz.io. I'm on Twitter at X at crypto, Jimmy Fitz, crypto, JIMI, FITZ.
Yes. FITZ, Crypto Fitz.
I'm now on in Phoenix on Money Radio. I was very excited to be the first one in the country, Laura, to announce live while I was on the air in Phoenix yesterday, the announcement of RFK Jr.'s nationwide address in Phoenix tomorrow, just hours before President Trump's rally in Phoenix. I was the first to break it in the country.
Well, that's exciting.
While I was on the air, it was so cool because he's a crypto proponent, big time.
Right. Big time. Well, that's exciting. Jimmy Fitz. Again, Jimmy is spelled JIMI. Fitz is FITZ. CryptoFitz.io is the website. And his podcasts are there. And you can, listen, this is going to be, I think this is going to spread. It'll end up being like Bitcoin. Everyone's going to want to get into it and hear your show. I really think.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Yeah, you're doing, it's actually a public service, I think, because you're giving it and you do it in a nonpartisan way. I know where you lean yourself, but you really are just giving factual information, which is what the world needs right now. Let people make their own decisions, and that's what you do. And so you're a great resource, Jimmy Fitz, and we're so grateful that you joined us today on the way home. Good luck to you. Long may your show live, Crypto Fitz,
Laura.
and may it go all over the country and the world. Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thank you for helping us today just decipher a little bit for ourselves what this is that's going on, because it's obviously changing the world. You're listening to The Way Home. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Way Home with Laura Smith. Here's Laura.
They say that the two most searched out items on the internet are, well, not so pleasant adult content, but number one is astrology. And that is no joke, no lie. And so we thought we would bring in the big guns, the number one astrologer in the whole wide world, the wonderful Susan Miller, who we have a wonderful tradition. When I started doing radio on Sirius XM many years ago, she did my first show. And then when I moved the show to another station, she was my first guest there, and on it goes. So Susan Miller, thank you so much for always being number one and my first show.
I'm so excited to connect. I think all of life is divided into pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So I haven't seen you in a little while, and it's exciting for me.
It's exciting for me. You're an amazing lady who was really the pioneer. I will say the pioneer in the digital age of providing content way before. I mean, we're talking, I remember back in 2005 or 2006, I mean, you were already talking about apps and podcasts. Oh,
yeah. I have 2 apps. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been doing that forever, literally before many, many people were doing it. Well, and you still are.
I'm in NFTs now too, which my collection, my portion of it, I had a sponsor, is sold out. But I'm still totally believing in them. And, people think of them as art, but they're really tickets to get closer to you. And there are certain benefits when you have the little portrait NFT. So I'm looking at metaverse. I'm looking at everything. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, it's just incredible to me because, yes, I mean, obviously you're a genius when it comes to the science of astrology and also breaking it down into the most delicious and human of ways that people can understand it. Astrology Zone has been a favorite. I've had your app since I met you, basically. And I love it because people truly do. They search out their horoscopes. And it's been like that forever, even when you could only find them in your local newspaper. People love to know about them.
Stuck with, I did write for the Daily News, but you had to keep it to 50 words. And I can't change the world at 50 words per side.
No, and that's what I love about you, Susan, because you see astrology not just as a ticket to whatever fame and fortune. You have always used astrology as a way of helping the world.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. I want people to see what I see. You see, all of nature is built on cycles. Everything, our seasons and the tides and fertility in women and everything. And to understand the underpinnings of the universe is such a privilege. And it took me 12 years. My mother said it would. She said, you have to study for 12 years. She never read for other people outside the family. She felt it was not accepted. She said, this is our secret. But if you can work with the cycles of the universe, you'll be so much happier and less frustrated and more productive. And, and I was born with that birth defect. So a lot of my instinct to learn astrology was to find out if I'd look like you. Would I walk? Would I look normal? Or would I have crutches and a big brace for the rest of my life? I spent 11 months at one point in the hospital, but I had other stays that were 7 months, 8 months. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know many people who spend that much time in hospitals. but it opened my heart. Everything you do has an effect on you. And I grew up really fast seeing the other people in my room, the other ladies who were having spinal surgeries and different things, So, I started my site to do what my mom did for me. She was such a cheerleader, always with so much hope and happiness. And she was right about everything.
Yeah. So for people who may be hearing your name or your beautiful voice for the first time, yes, your mother became a celebrity along with you all these years. She was known as Little.
She was very shy.
Little Mom, and you talked about her endlessly, and we all felt like we knew her. And then when she passed a few years ago, it was a big thing for all of your readers, and you have millions of them. And truly, yes, everybody sort of banded together to wish you well and wish Little Mom off to a beautiful rest in eternity. And that's the connection you have with your readers. Is it over 13 million readers?
I have 13 million unique readers, about 1.3 million, 1.5 million a month. And that doesn't include the app,
which must be.
Well, there's over 1 million there. But I have a staff. I hire a lot of engineers. And my whole life revolves around code, I think. But I also have a fabulous assistant. She's, holds down the fort and keeps everything going, my executive assistant. But I also have an editor-in-chief that I named and 5 editors under him that they have to make sure that they don't change my voice. But that's true in any magazine. You have that. Mm. So I love what I do.
You love what you do, but you do it in a very unique way. So if you've not read Susan Miller's books and her articles and her daily horoscope, which I have right on the top of my phone, which is so precise. And I mean, honestly, when you read it on Astrology Zone, you read your sign for the month, it is so uncanny at how you're like, oh my goodness, did she know my situation because she's speaking directly to me? But there's a million other people who are saying exactly the same. Well, you have a gift of intuition in your ability.
Anything I say you can look up in a book, and I allow enough detail. I might say that Jupiter and Neptune are waltzing across a star-studded sky. Other astrologers will know that I mean it's a conjunction. And other people will say, that sounds good. They're in a friendly way. and it's a romantic aspect. So I'm trying to communicate to 2 communities, the layman and also professional astrologers. So, but I believe in poetry. I think we need poetry in life.
I was just going to say you're a poet to me. I've always thought that when you read, and who also had that gift. I know 2 others that sort of have that beautiful gift of making astrology. Well, Monty Farber is one of them. My dear friend out on Long Island.
Monty. Wow.
Oh my goodness. He's you would love him because he's also a poet. And then the lovely Linda Goodman, who was my first introduction to astrology back in the 50s. Not that I was born then.
I think she published in 1961.
Okay. Well, then that makes total sense.
It was almost the 50s.
Her book really was, it was like reading it. My mother just even brought it up to me the other day. My mother's 85. She was like, what was that astrology book we used to read? And that woman had the funniest way of saying things to make you understand it. Well, you have that same gift. So for people who want to read it every day, I don't know how you do it, honestly, because they are so in depth. In fact, you even have something that's available the next 200 years.
Oh, I wrote that book. It's a short book for me. It's 9,300 words. For me, that's really short. It's only $4.99. I have it on Kindle. I didn't know that when you buy a book on Kindle, it flies through the air. And when you go into your bedroom and pick up your Kindle, it's sitting there. You don't have to download it. It's like crazy how good it is. But I also am on bookbaby.com, which is all formats, in Europe, in South America, all over.
Yeah.
And, it's only $4.99. And it does talk about the next 200 years because that's another show. I mean, I could tell you all about that, but we are walking across a bridge to a completely new era that will not look anything like the one we grew up in, because we grew up in a mainly earth-oriented, that's Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. We're moving to air, which is Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. And it will not be consumeristic. It won't be my car is bigger than your car, my house is bigger than. That's not going to matter anymore. It's what you know and what you can contribute to others, and be willing to work with other people in groups to get things done, like they did actually with the vaccine. They actually, that's how it got done so fast. Different countries were working with us. It wasn't just a few scientists in a lab. There was a big concerted effort. And that's what's coming. Yeah.
Is that what is known as the age of Aquarius?
Yes. Well, Pluto is in Aquarius right this minute, but he's leaving on June 11th. He has to straighten out a few things in banking, as we just saw in the headlines. And then he'll come back to Aquarius permanently on January 20th to stay 20 years. Until January 19th, 2044. And he will really institute the digital age. Now, there are parts of AI I don't like, as I mentioned before, that is scary. But yesterday, there were, Mr. Altman was having, it was a guest of the Congress, and he was the creator of AI. He is credited for that, and a brilliant scientist, and talking about the needs for guardrails. It's hard, though, because we can't control other countries. And now, someone can make a film of you, and it'll look like you, and it'll sound like you, but it won't be you. And, that is terrifying. So we have to figure this out. I think the creators have to put some kind of watermark on it, or a little logo on the bottom, or something to identify the fact that it's not real. Or else we'll have President Biden saying, 2 minutes ago, I just bombed the Kremlin. I mean, you can't have that. And AI is ready for that. 60 Minutes did a show recently with Scott Pelley, and they said, just give us one sentence and we could do an animation. Google said that he was with the CEO of Google. And so he said, golden retrievers with wings flying over a meadow. 5 seconds later, there they were. It's just incredible. But Google is saying we're not going to allow people, just animals or buildings or things, Yeah. So, that they're trying, but I don't know, their competitors may not be like that,
Right. It doesn't feel like
we have to have a public forum about all this. We never did with social media. And then later we found out there were unintended consequences, and especially with teenagers. Kids, So we have to try to think ahead. You can't think of everything, but it's good to have a public discussion where everybody has a voice, and that's why I like reading the editorial page of the newspaper and listening to different talk shows and just, trying to get a handle on it.
So would you say in general that we are looking towards good times for the earth, or do you feel like there's going to be a lot of conflict, or is it sort of a mixed bag?
Well, it's good. I always see good. Good will come out of technology. I mean, we'll be able to, they think, that's what I've read, that they'll be able to cure cancer with the use of AI, and also get into the cells of people before they're born and take out hereditary illnesses like macular degeneration or things you're born with that you didn't do anything wrong, and they'll be able to really relieve suffering. So that's part's good. But Henry Kissinger was on television. He's going to be 100 years old. And they asked him about AI, and he said, well, I don't think you should let AI decide battle plans. And I thought, I never even thought of that. Oh my goodness. He said, you shouldn't just let the machine decide everything and walk away. You have to be involved. And I'm like, yeah, do you think? Definitely. So, but see, this is good. We have to talk. Look, when we had the Industrial Revolution, and that was part of the element of Earth, we had problems. We had sweatshops. We had that shirtwaist fire. We had bad conditions. We had children working. I mean, we had problems that we had to, as a society, work out, as a world society. I'm sure nobody wants to have children, 10 years old working in factories. So, that with new technology comes problems. It just comes with the territory. But I think we're still smart enough to straighten that out. And we want peace. I think people strive for that. And, when you think about Hitler and how strong he was and how it could have gone either way, he could have kept conquering nations. I believe that when things could go either way, they always finally land on the side of good. That within us is a little piece of the divine that wants good, wants peace, wants love. So I do believe we're moving toward a better future, but we all have to be part of it and help with, deciding how to work out the kinks.
Mm-hmm. And, when there are people who have obviously different intentions than most of the people on the planet, because I think people from every country want peace and all the things, prosperity, all the things that we want. But then it takes somebody like a Hitler who has their intentions upside down, and it ruined a lot of people. That's where I wonder, does astrology show, is it able to sort of show you when there are tendencies towards like, this is going to be a difficult time because of what the planets are telling us? Do you see that in the future, or do you see most coming out?
In 2020, in January, Pluto and Saturn met. And that is a classic aspect where misuse of power or discussions about power and how it should be handled will come up. And that's when President Trump was impeached first, I believe. Or it could have been the second time. I'm not sure if it was the first or second time. And that's when the pandemic started. The pandemic was so weird how something that big could come. None of us saw it coming because none of us thought it was possible. In order to predict in astrology, you have to think it's possible. Like, for example, I don't think it's possible to see a tsunami in New York, even though we're on an island. I don't think so. But so if you don't look for it, you're not going to find it. See, that's the thing. And that year, 2020, I saw so much prosperity. I saw money flowing like crazy and, big companies being involved. But what turned out was the big stimulus checks, bigger than we had ever done in this country, even including inflation. We had never done anything like that. We had to. People couldn't be thrown out of their homes and have nowhere to live and have no food to eat. It was necessary. There were trillions of dollars flooding the country. And that's what I saw. Now, what's interesting, I said at the beginning of the year that Jupiter and Pluto were together, and that's what gives such prosperity in 2020. But now they're in conflict. In May 2023, they're in conflict. They're not getting along. And when they're at a square position, 90 degrees apart, like the edge of a table, it means there has to be a tweak, some kind of reassessment. They just met on May 17th. And what's going on in Washington? They're discussing the budget and trying to lower the debt. That's a tweak. So, there's the yin and the yang. that keeps happening in society. And actually, if there is a recession, it's going to be a short one, because Jupiter and Pluto are making up and are going to be best friends by June 2nd next year. So it would only last a year. I don't think all industries will feel it, and I think it will be mild, and the rebound will be quick. And I'm definitely optimistic about the state of the economy. So,
that is certainly good to hear. And if those planets, if that's what that means, then so be it. Susan Miller is truly the docent, the maven of all things astrology, but putting it into a language that you can understand. And you will enjoy her writings every month. Go to astrologyzone.com, get her app like I have, and you can read these incredible things. It's fun, and it's eye-opening, and it always entertains. I'm so grateful, Susan Miller, that you are doing what you do forever in the world. You're always ahead of the curve and ahead of the game on it. But you make yourself very accessible to your millions upon millions of fans, and so in a way through your writings and all that you teach. So we thank you for that, and I am truly grateful. You have been coming on my show for the last, oh my goodness, almost 20 years now, and it's a blessing. I love having you on.
Wow, that's hard to believe. Wow, that's great.
You're so joyful, and that gives me hope, because if somebody who can actually see the next 200 years is as joyful as you are, then I think we're going to be okay.
I think we're all going to be okay. It's true.
Wonderful. Susan Miller, thank you so much. Go to Astrology Zone, everyone, and lots of love to you. Many blessings, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, good.
All right. You're listening to The Way Home. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Way Home with Laura Smith. Here's Laura.
So, good news. That's where we are. This is the point in the show that we call in the big guns of good news. Jimmy Cleefield. I call him Jimmy Dean, too. We have lots of Jimmys on the show today, but I know that you've picked out something lovely for us to go out into the week with on this Labor Day weekend. I cannot believe, how did it get here so fast? What happened to our summer? But it's okay. We always have great information from you coming to make us feel better. So what have you got?
Well, we go to South Florida for this story, LJ. Brevard County, that's right around the Miami area. And I'm going to tell you the story about two really good friends that just really like to make a difference in the world, spread kindness, random acts of kindness. It's a theme, we've had on the show many, many times. Jen Justin Deanna, I'll start with her. She has been painting rocks kind of as a hobby, and I'll tell you why, because she suffered some anxiety as the result of a hurricane that struck Brevard County at one point, and it's just a way to kind of ease her anxieties and relax her. It kind of reminds me of something that a friend from New York told me years ago, and I didn't know about this. Did you know if you doodle, you can help ease your anxiety? I didn't know that. Well, anyway, she decided to do some rock painting, and meanwhile, her other friend, Carrie Survey, has her own Facebook page separately. She likes to spread messages of positivity, be kind, love, all those kind of things, and she posted on her page. Well, Jen really was just so awestruck by that, she decided, hey, let's join forces. You know what we're going to do? Let's create a private Facebook page, Brevard Rocks FL, which is for Florida. That's the name of the page. And it's going to be like she's going to paint rocks with inspirational messages on it, like love and spread kindness. And they decided to get some members on there. It started with 1,000 members, LJ. It's now grown to 41,500 and counting. A lot of people are going on this page and seeing these messages. In fact, one woman in particular was so inspired by this. She went to a donut shop not that long ago, and she happened to see a pink rock with the word warrior on it. This was Colleen Carlson of Viera, Florida, and she looked at that rock, this pink rock that said warrior, and just because she was going through a very rough time, she said, you know what? That's meant for me. I'm going to take this rock. She kept that for several years. Then she turned it to another friend who was going through a rough time, and I think that friend has probably passed it on and on. But the point is this, LJ, this particular page really is just showing how a random act of kindness can really do good for a lot of people, and it's spreading beyond the borders, not just in Brevard County, Florida, but even further than that, and helping people feel so much better. I can certainly relate to that. I try to spread positive messages every morning when I get up with my friends on social, and that's exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it as a team. Teamwork, that's what counts.
Absolutely. I remember during COVID, when I was still living in New York, that I would, take a walk by myself because it was the spring. It was March and April and May when we were kind of all shut down. But I would take these walks by myself, kind of out in the woods or in the neighborhoods or whatever. And there was a house that had all these rocks in front of them. And it had a little sign that said free, please take one. And they had positive messages on them. And, I remember just thinking that made me feel so good just to see those positive words. I mean, it was such a scary time. It was such a strange time. And yet somebody had done that. And it really made my day. I still have the rocks. And one of them has the word love on it. And I still have it. And it's here in my new home in Indiana. But I'll never forget that, how it cheered me up that day. And indeed, it's a great idea for anybody. Whenever you see beautiful messages, kind words, I have these stickers that says you are beautiful on them. And you're supposed to put them in random places so that people walking into whatever, maybe a bank or a bathroom or something like that, you have right in front of you, it says you are beautiful. It's incredible how seeing positive words like that can actually change your emotions and your energy. So I love that. Thank you for finding that story. It's absolutely perfect. Hey, I can't believe it's supposedly the end of summer now, the kind of official last weekend of the summer, but hopefully we'll still have warm days ahead and a beautiful fall to look forward to. It's certainly going to be a busy one with the election and all. But thank you to my wonderful guests today, and Jimmy Fitz with Crypto Fitz, his show. And thank you, Jim Clefield, for all the good news, and Bob Small for you as well. So everybody have a wonderful week. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. God bless you. Have a wonderful time. And we'll see you next time right here on The Way Home. I'm Laura Smith.
Podcasts by Federated Media.